Hi everyone, welcome to the Charlene Show, a show that talks about taboos, social, religious, cultural, lifestyle, and human interest stories. I am your host, Charlene Taruwona. Today is World AIDS Day, and this year's theme is End Inequalities and AIDS. And in the studio, I'm joined by Reverend Maxwell Kapachawo. I'm honored to have Reverend Maxwell Kapachawo in the studio. I grew up watching him on television. And the advert that I grew up watching, in which he is in, and he openly discloses his HIV status, won an international award. Reverend, I never thought that I would ever meet you in person. And I'm really honored to have met you. I mean, we grew up watching you on TV, and we could sing you the words that you'd say on the advert regarding HIV and AIDS. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio today.
Thank you so much, sister. I'm highly favored.
Thank you. We are very pleased to have you in the studio today. I guess everyone is wondering, who is Reverend Kapachawo? Maybe you can tell us, who are you?
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, listeners, and welcome again to World AIDS Day. This is the day that we always look forward to, year in, year out. Well, Reverend Maxwell, first and foremost, I'm Maxwell Kapachawo. Of course, a theological by training, a pastor by calling, and I'm happy to be part of this. I've been raised not as a pastor, but thank God, by God's grace, I happen to be in the ministry. Maxwell is someone who knew about his HIV zero status way back in 2002. By then, I was in full-time ministry. And when I knew about my HIV zero status, it wasn't easy. And there was nothing by then that people could fall back to. Up until 2005, that's when I started on ARVs. So until now, I'm taking ARVs and life has been going on. Yeah, I'm a parent, I'm a father. Actually, I'm a father of 4, 2 boys, 2 girls, and now I have a grandchild. Oh. So maybe in short, this is Maxwell for you.
Oh, okay, wow. Congratulations. Yes, so you are saying that you were already in ministry when you discovered that you had HIV. So how was it like now, being in ministry, being HIV positive, and also looking at the time, 2002, where discrimination was so rampant?
Honestly, it wasn't easy. It was not an easy road. It was not easy to accept. It was not easy to really say, this is it. Considering that time, the messages that were centered around HIV. That time, actually, it was not HIV. It was AIDS. Because we never knew HIV. We couldn't differentiate in between. You see, so whoever had that problem automatically was said, yes, AIDS. And AIDS, what AIDS meant that time is once you have it, you are gone. You are dead. Looking into the eyes of, especially the eyes of the church, it's something that was demonized. It's something that was given a lot of names. Whoever has it has been promiscuous. Whoever has it is an adulterer, has done fornication, has done very bad things, to an extent of saying, we can pray for you. We pray for you, you must get healed. And now if you're not getting healed, then you have to confess. So being in the ministry at the same time seeing yourself having HIV was a very big mountain to climb for me. Yes, it was a very big mountain to climb. I remember I gathered the energy, I gathered the guts and shared with my bishop that time. The only thing that he told me is, okay, son, I have heard you, but please don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone, it has to be between me and you. But within a very short space of time, diplomatically, he made sure that I leave the mission house. Okay. Because I was sick that time. Okay. So just said, no, son, look here, we can't continue like this. It's best for you, you go home. We look after you home. Then we put someone who is able-bodied to continue with this work.
So you were not able-bodied because you had HIV?
Yeah, I had HIV and I had opportunistic infections. So diplomatically, that's how they offloaded me. Very smiling. And when I went home, back to my parents' place, that was end of communication. That was end of everything. So you'd see how rife it has been. I remember so many times you would go to the hospital, you're going for review, they give you these prescriptions. No, you don't have these medicines. Can you go and buy? You call the church. No, look, I have these things. I don't have money. They'll just tell you, no, look here, son. Neswat namari. I said, Sharamba Chikunamatira. They never visited me. I never got any support. So yeah, really, it was not good news. And also at the same time, maybe I thought they also wanted to preserve the integrity of the church. How can they have a pastor who is HIV positive leaving a congregation? And at the same time, that's when all those questions now will be rising that have been asked so many times. So you say you are a pastor, yes, anointed, yes, and you can minister, yes. So then how did you get it? You know? Yes. All those things, I met them. But, well, life is life. Here we are today, and we thank God. We are alive. Yes. Yeah. So the church, during that period, never really understood HIV just like any other sickness. They really never understood what it meant. Because, yes, 80 to 90% of HIV infections, they are through sexual contact, especially unprotected. But also, it does not deem somebody that whoever has it has done something bad. The church became so much judgmental. The church closed the other avenues of infection. The church did not really understand. Forgetting also that we were never born Christians. Everybody has got a history. Everybody has got somewhere where he came from. And you can't run away from your own shadow. It was only that moment, maybe when you came with your crusade, when you came in our communities, you evangelized, and then finally said, no, let me give my life to Christ. But I can't run away from my history. Yes. I give my life to Christ. I'm there in the ministry. God loved me, and God does not discriminate anybody. Years down the line, God calls me into the ministry. I am now full-time ministry, and we are talking of a virus that when it enters one system can remain dormant for years without any sign and symptom. Now that I'm in ministry, then I see myself, I'm HIV positive. You're asking me, how did you get it? Asking me, no, this is a shame to the church. Then you tell me, no, this is demonic. You tell me, can you confess that you committed adultery? No, to me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make progress. So I concluded saying, what killed that time was not the virus, but the attitude and the treatment that we got, especially within our places of worship, is what would have killed somebody. Because for me, if I had died that time, it was one, because of self-stigma. I totally agree that I'm useless, I'm a sinner, and in the eyes of people, I was a bad person. But is it true? You see, at the end of the day, those who are supposed to give me a shoulder to cry on, they denied me that opportunity. Those whom I thought we are the body of Christ, we are our brother's keepers, instead, they shunned me. So if I had to die that time, honestly, it was not because of the virus, but it's because of the attitude and how I was stigmatized and discriminated within my fellows. That has been the biggest challenge. Even until now, it's still very hard for these churches to accept that somebody can be HIV positive and can still do well. It's not the end of life. Yeah. Does not mean that the person is a sinner. Does not mean the person is very bad. No, we are talking of a medical condition. But we have demonized everything, and we had placed our own conclusions and judgments. But honestly, one can live with HIV just like anybody else. You don't have to demonize it. You don't have to spiritualize it. This is just a medical condition, and we thank God this is where we are today, with even science helping us.
Wow. So, with discrimination coming from the church, how did your family take your status?
It wasn't easy, my dear. It wasn't easy starting even with my wife. It was a challenge to convince her. She could not also believe, she could not also accept the reality that was on the ground. Vis-a-vis that time, she was healthy, she was not sick, she had no complaints whatsoever. It is me who was down, you see, which also took her some time even for her to go and test for HIV. Yes. So that thing of saying now, how are people going to view us? What are people going to say, considering that we've been like this? I think this has become a bottleneck that even today has killed a lot of people. We don't live for people. And we cannot stop people talking anyway. Let them talk, but what we need is, if there is potential of life to be preserved, let it be preserved. But I soldiered on despite the stigma. Yes, at one time we really knew we are on our own. We did not even wanted the closest people within the family to know what was happening. So this became like an inside problem whereby my brothers, my sisters, my mom shouldn't know. Yes. Though it's that period whereby this is where I would see vanhu vachierera bvudzi kwangu sina mushonga. This is where we would see munhu. Also, I don't think we really had a good Shona name to quantify AIDS. But by the notion just of saying, ane mkondombera, you know, it was already stigmatizing. Yeah. Speaking it from the other languages, it's lighter. But the moment if one asks you and say, you know, it wasn't coming out nice. So nobody wanted to be associated with anyone who is in that condition. So it became me, my wife, and my children. I struggled. Finally, she managed to understand what it is, and that she cannot get it from me through any other contact, through sharing of blankets, through sharing food, utensils, through even when bathing, you know. But there was no such information that time. There was nothing. So finally she agreed, she understood, and she supported me, basically. I thank her. She really supported me when everybody else had fallen back. But I think that was the end of a lot of communication with the outside world. So it became an in-house thing. Yeah, they'll come, I can come. But my patrons on kuti vari kuuya uzoda kuzongoona kuti asvika papi. He can die today, he can die tomorrow, you know. But I thank God that between the period of 2002 to 2005, when I went on medication, that's the period that I lost a brother, I lost a sister, and I lost my father. Well, my father, yeah, but my brother and my sister, well, we really felt it could have been something along those lines. But what I wanted to stress is, when these people died, especially my brother, my sister, I was not given an opportunity even to do body viewing.
Because of your status?
Yes. Okay. So here you are at this funeral, Pamba, but we are locked in that room, and there are people, community people, and the other relatives have come to join you, and I said, but anotinyadzisa manje kuti abude umu. You see? I had become a shame. It was only during my father's funeral where I needed some people to support me, to do that body viewing. But it was also after a fight. I said, no, but he cannot just, he is also my father. I also need to say goodbye to him. But the relatives and brothers, they're looking at this thing and said, no, but no, it can't be. He cannot mingle. That time of a lot of misconceptions. Yeah. And you just have the feeling of saying, and like these two, they were just like sudden illness. So people would come and say, Kapachawo kune nhamo. Ndiye mwana wekurwarisa serekwenzi. Aiwe umpenyu. Pano, a short space of time again, something happens. Aiwa wewe aripo. So already people had put a benchmark of saying, Apa ayambuka. But here I am today.
Yeah. Yes. How many years later?
Well, I would just imagine from 2005 when I had access to ARVs. Now this is 2021. Here I am. I'm not sick. I'm just like anybody else. And I can do what any other person can do.
And HIV is not a death sentence.
No, it's not. It's not. The way that it has been portrayed, the way that time that people looked at it, I think it really contributed to this high number of deaths. Yes, we did not have enough information, but at the same time, why discriminate? At the same time, why stigmatize? At the same time, why didn't we embrace? Because in 1999, I also had no information about these things, and we were already in ministry. Yeah, a brother, Akasira Inini, committed suicide in his bedroom. And I did not understand it.
He had discovered that he had HIV.
That's one thing that we knew about a year later. Because the wife by then was heavily pregnant, but he never liked that pregnancy. He never liked it. And the final week before he committed suicide, he never even had anything to do with the wife. So he could even wake up in his bedroom, come to my place. I would take him to the doctor. I was going to these private doctors almost every day. But you go to a doctor and I remain in the consultation room. He goes in the doctor's room. Whatever discussion that they would have there had nothing to do with me. Up until finally, but he told me almost 3-4 times. Pane chinhu chiri kuti zviuraye wena. Saudze mama. No, anoti ndozviita here. And now that's when I understood the guy was going through stress. That I was not also, during my theological training, we had nothing like that. Yes, we did pastoral counseling, but not along those lines. So, to me, it was just like one of those general talks. But finally, Sunday, we are going for a big Sunday. I was with him, I think, from around 3 a.m. right into morning. I know I don't want to delay you to go to church. Go to church, come back. And, we need to go to this outing where we used to do when we were boys. I'll wait for you. But only to come back home, Pamba Paninam. How did it happen? In his own bedroom. That's when it only made sense to me to say, look, finally the guy has fulfilled his word. But there the wife delivers. Immediately after deliverance, the wife became sick. And the wife died, and we remained with the kid. But the kid, kukura kurukunetsa. That's when we asked doctors to test. So discovered that the kid was HIV positive. That's when it dawned back to me to say, okay, so this is what my brother never wanted to look at. Okay. Only then. But we had no information whatsoever. But we only knew. And finally, okay, we lost the father, we lost the mom, we lost the child. Yeah, and that was the second child. The firstborn is alive. We have the firstborn. It's now a grown-up man. So sometimes how people view us as people living with the HIV, especially during those era, it wasn't easy. You only needed a very supportive family system in order to soldier on. Without that, honestly, I tell you, why would I want to before real death takes a toll on you? But we stood up as a family, and we had that attitude of saying, hear evil, see no evil, hear no evil. Life has to carry on. We did not do this alone. We had also friends who came in, who helped us, who really understood us so much. Yeah, I reached one time that verge also feeling sweet. I was saying, no, but there is no reason, there is no purpose to live. And it's like I'm burdening this. But we got a lot of assistance, we got a lot of counseling, we got a lot of support from other partners who would visit us at home. We had like Sister Charlene Kawaza, but then she was with Island Hospice. She became a mother to us. She made sure. And every time she stood her ground. At one time, and I always say, I owe my life to her. She really, that gap that I felt, that even my relatives could not give me, even the church could not give me, she stood between that gap just to make sure that I lived where I am today. We had colleagues within our Board Council of Churches, Dr. Superi, we had Prof. Ezra Chitando. I had never seen love when you are in such a scenario. But those people, they, despite my HIV, they would hug you, you would eat together, you would share. You know, they really made me change. They really made me realize that no, there is life. It's not the end of the world. Up until almost end of 2004, for the first time, when I met other 26 religious leaders from across Africa, telling their stories, how their churches in their respective countries have accepted them, how they've been supported, they were not discriminated within their places of worship. I saw life. And at the end of that conference, the convener of that conference asked me, Max, do you think we can have a network of religious leaders in Zimbabwe? But knowing my people, knowing my church, I never thought it was achievable. But thank God it happened. End of 2005, that's when we launched Cinderella, bringing aboard 10 religious leaders from every province. And really, it worked out. That's when we discovered that, yes, we need to change the mindset of how our places of worship does view some of these things. The journey wasn't pleasant. There were a lot of tears. There were a lot of heartbreaks. But when we understood one thing, that it is not HIV that shouldn't separate us from the love of Christ. And by embracing and giving somebody a shoulder, actually you're giving someone life. So, yeah, this has been the journey, my sister.
Wow, a powerful journey indeed. So this year, 2021's theme is End Inequalities and AIDS. What are some of the inequalities surrounding HIV and AIDS?
Quite a number, especially, I think we still need to go back to the ethics. At one time, yeah, we have done a lot, but at one time I think we are missing the basics also, of really coming back to the basics of saying, what is HIV? The fact that we now have got ARVs and life has been boosted, but it seems as if people had lost focus on the basics. Because let me take in a family setup. By virtue, when a wife becomes pregnant, whether she likes it or not, she has to test for HIV.
Now,
at least now. But no matter what the result, it becomes worse when the result becomes positive. Is she empowered enough to come home and disclose to the husband?
Well, I see there's a problem already because they were supposed to go
together. So already it's very inequality.
Yeah, okay.
You see.
Yeah.
How is one going to disclose visceral status. How prepared is the guy to review, to speak, to break down to his wife? How ready is he? And culturally, men, we are not hospital clinic people. Because we are not. Saka pambacho tatomboseka zvedu tikati ndisaka kuchiona zvipatara zvine maclinics ane one toilet because vanouya panapa madzimai nevana. They had no need with these guys. They don't come.
Okay.
They don't come. So we need to end some of these inequalities. We need to end this blame game. What makes me not disclose to my spouse, automatically it's because of the blame game. Whoever comes in and say, I have this problem, I have this condition now, tatotanga, ndiwe. But look, did we test when we got married? And it's not only testing for that time, but we say routining. It has to be routine testing.
Are couples doing that? Routine testing? Or we just test before we get married, we go and get tested, we are negative and that's it.
End of the road. Yeah. So 5 years, 6 years down the line, one happens to be HIV positive. We start to blame, it's you, it's me, it's you, you know? So already it's a gap. But I think if the basics, what is HIV? How? Let's come back to the transmission. What happens? And how long will it take? You know, those are some of the little things that we had forgotten totally. Yes. And also inequality to me, again, is look, we are heading towards an issue of having quite a number of defaulters, especially within the young people. It's a very good initiative whereby we are saying test and treat. But we are talking of ARVs that cannot be swallowed like Panadol. These have to be swallowed for life. Is the person prepared psychologically? Because when we started on those medications, we had to go through a rigorous counseling. We had to go through rigorous lessons to understand that what I am going to start now has to be taken for life and has its own conditions, because you don't take these tablets willy-nilly. But if I'm tested there, and then I go into the next room, automatically I'm coming there with my medicine. Is the mind prepared? So down the line, am I prepared also even to my peers, to my partner, you know? So it's a gap. Because that time, I can take the medicine that time because I'm in pain. But when things do like they're stabilizing, it's easy for me to throw them out. Yes. It's very, very easy for me. And also, let's look on the issue of even accessing of these medicines. We still have got a mindset of saying, your status is my status because we are one, because we are family. But that's not true. It's not, you see. Your result is my result. No. I should have my own result. So this is why it is important that we go and test together. But I tell you, yeah, it's a wish because I don't see it happening. And when we have a scenario of a discordant couple, mostly it's easy when the guy happen to be positive for the wife to stand in. But it becomes difficult if it is the wife who is positive and the guy is negative. It becomes so difficult.
Yes.
So why should we divorce because there is HIV in the home? Why should you be sacrificed as the wife because there is HIV on the matrimonial bed? We still have got that mindset of associating this condition with people out there, not here. Okay. But guys, HIV is now on the matrimonial bed. And it is not only the only mode of transmission that one can have HIV. It's not. what message do we have? We are talking of something that has been with us since 1985 in Zimbabwe when the first case was reported. But we know we have got children who survived. People have never stopped producing children. They've never stopped. HIV, no HIV. People have never stopped bearing children, you see. But now we've got children who are teenagers. We've got children who are ready for marriage. We've got children who are in tertiary schools. We've got children, but they are on ARVs. They've done well, you see. What message do we have for those children? They come to me maybe as a pastor. They are ready to settle down. But pastor, look, this is my situation. Is she a virgin? Yes. Is she HIV positive? Yes. She's ready to settle down? Yes. What message do I have as a leader for this person? We shortchange. This is where sometimes we are caught in between and say, but niwo washiya vasikana unomudiya nemkondombera washiya vasikana. We are trying to match people, but one status has nothing to do with the love that I have for the person. You see, because we don't have that much information that whether positive or negative, we can still live as a couple. And now, we have concluded to say whoever is HIV positive is equals to a very bad thing happened to the person. But what message are we having for these children now? They are positive. They never applied to be positive. They were born from parents who were like this. They got it from their parents. But they lived faithfully. They are still faithful. But this is their condition. They are ready to move forward. What do we say to them? What word of encouragement do we say to them? We are also caught short. So automatically, to me, it's not equal. And this is what we want to end. When they come to me as a leader, why should I discourage them? Instead, I have to encourage them. They can live just like any other couple. One cannot stop studying just because he or she is HIV positive. One cannot continue blaming the parents why he or she has been born with HIV. But thank God, the person is alive. Thank God, one can do things just like anybody else. We tended to give a deaf ear. But remember, yesterday, she was just a baby. But today, she's a grown-up woman. But this is her condition. This is his condition. And we cannot tell this person to stop his or her medication just because he wants to settle down. Are we prepared for that? All those gaps, you know. And from the church point of view, I cannot see a scenario whereby we have reached a point of encouraging. But instead, because we don't have, let me be open with you, my sister. Even the time that we did our theological training, HIV was already there, but we did not study anything along those lines. We don't. We did not. I was silent when it comes to that. We had no syllabus whatsoever about health. We had no syllabus whatsoever about HIV.
Assuming that a religious leader
cannot have this. Yeah, or should not. Exactly. You see. So we adopted that holier than thou attitude. But remember, we are dealing with a community kuti wese atamba dzatamba kana ada kuroorwa anouya kuchechi. Wese azotsikisa dzatsikisa kana ada kuroora anouya kuchechi. Wese arwara kana ada kufa anouya kuchechi. The church is the last point of call. But how prepared are we when such things happen? And who are we to judge? So that attitude has to change. We need to balance the paradigm. We have to balance things. Let us be equal if we are to end AIDS. We should not be judges. No. But let's support. I think these are some of, this is daily experience. We have these people in our communities. We have these children now who are adults in our communities. How much more when we adults have been stigmatized? Tomboti aiva mazuva ekusaziva. Ko iko zvinezvi tavana, we have all this information now. But still, what are we doing to support instead of killing them again? So there's still a gap that really we need to end these inequalities. There's so many factors around HIV. And until we learn to coexist and accept and embrace, then we can become equal.
Yes, and well, we cannot talk about these inequalities and leave out COVID-19. How has COVID-19 worsened these inequalities? Look at disruption of services. How has it been like for people living with HIV? How has it been like for you? Because I understand we had lockdowns. You couldn't go from point A to point B to collect your medication. You'd be forced sometimes to default. How has it been like? How was it like?
Yeah, really, COVID is here with us to stay. And it's so bad, especially with someone who is living with HIV today. Someone who is supposed to travel from point A to point B to access his or her medications. And COVID really disrupted a lot of programs to us, people who are living with HIV. One of the most annoying things with COVID, we were forced to disclose whenever we were going to collect our medicines. We were forced to disclose our HIV serostatus to people who know nothing about our condition totally, which also was so embarrassing. We're forced to produce our medical cards, or we're forced to carry our containers, and we are talking to this person, oh, look here, this is where I'm going. She or he does not know anything about these things. It was because of COVID. To which someone, now, this is the scenario. How many were prepared to do that? And when my collection day is 1 December, I cannot risk to try and go on 2 December, yet my due date. So I have to make sure that 1 December I'm at my health center for collection. Services were so much disrupted as well, because by that time we saw even, yes, the healthy issues were deemed as essential service, but honestly, the workforce also was not there. Was not there at most of these centers. To which, but you reach at this center, if there is 1 or 2 people who are serving you, end up spending your whole day there. Service delivery was so much disrupted. Programming within our communities was a non-starter. We couldn't do anything within our communities. Why? Because gatherings were not allowed. We couldn't do anything. We are people who have strived on even doing home visits. We would do, so such activities, automatically they stopped. Because we were encouraged to stay Garaumba, but out there, you really feel there are people who would need, there is someone who just needs a shoulder to talk to lean on. There is someone there who just needs to be said, hi, how are you? There is someone there who need, but all this was disrupted because of COVID. And our source of income became a very big challenge. I'm coming from communities whereby economically now we have turned into vendors. That was the only thing that one could do within. And that is one thing, even the community that I'm coming from. There are no more formal jobs. People are living on vending. And that period up to now, we have not really revived our living conditions, exposing someone who is on ARVs today. You can't take those medicines on an empty stomach. To which malnutrition can not only be seen in children, but it is also going to be seen in adults like us who are taking medicine, but with no access to proper food. Because our source of income was so much disrupted. We have not really managed to make it. Why? Because honestly, guys, I tell you, ainwiki mishonga iyi. Saka atidi kuzoitawo kwashu takura. Uyezve hakusisina zvaitiraramisa zviya zvakavhiringwa neCOVID. Ipap, I don't know how it can be helped. It's so pathetic when we are in these communities. It's pfumvudza iriko vanhu vakaita maguta whatsoever they call it. But honestly, it's not what we see. When you go down into communities, when you go down into these places, that's where I would really acknowledge COVID wreaked havoc to the livelihoods of people. It wreaked havoc, and it is going to take time for some people, for families again, to manage 3 meals a day. It is going to take time. If we get 2 meals, lucky us. If you get 1, well, it's something else. And to those if there can be a consideration of how, especially the community of people living with HIV, how they can be helped. Because honestly, we will see malnutrition even in the adults. No, I have to take these medicines, or I cannot risk taking them with no proper food. Creating also another problem tomorrow of defaulting. And when such happens, it's a minus also to the gains that we had done as a country. I'm not looking forward to more lockdowns, please. Despite whatever has been said now that we have this other thing that, this variant that is, if the powers be, if something can be done, if this variant cannot, if we are not forced into another lockdown, yes, it is for the good of the nation, it's for the good of people, it is for the good of families, but honestly, let us consider these people who are on these life-prolonging medicines. We need to safeguard, we need to put safety nets sometimes before we speak some of these things. HIV is real, the medicines have to be swallowed every day, and our livelihoods have been so much disrupted, and we are not looking forward for more disruptions again. We need to live, and yes, we've been living from hand to mouth. But now, if the mouth just becomes dry, there is nothing that the hand can put into the mouth. So it's my prayer that whatever this variant, please, should not lead us into another lockdown, because it's a disaster to the community of living with HIV.
Yes. And I wanted to ask you this, but then I decided not to, but now I've decided to. Well, no, it's about families and HIV. As a reverend, how are you handling disputes regarding HIV infections within the family unit? Are you? I think obviously you are coming across such.
We have such people. It's easy to deal with, especially with women. Our biggest challenge is to persuade men. To persuade these husbands is our hardest hurdle. Mostly, one of the things that we have seen is that blame game within a family setup is too bad. 2, most men don't want to acknowledge the fact that they are living with HIV. So at the end of the day, most guys would decide to share that container the wife brings.
Okay.
But it's not supposed to be like that. Saka ngapha kunzi vanondibira mishonga yangu avachinwa. But for the guy could have the guts to go and test, he doesn't want.
Okay, so he's just drinking, but he's not been determined with what sort of medication
he needs. Yeah. Whether are you, the fact that your wife is positive, does it mean that you're positive also?
It doesn't.
Does it mean that the very medicine that she's taking, you can also take that?
No. Okay.
Most guys, they can only visit a health center when they are really serious. Most guys, as long as they feel that they are still able-bodied, as long as they feel that I can have a dry cough here and there, they are okay. They tolerate. Tombo manya kumaguchuka nsikuti akashata. Tombo dini dinu. Kazona murume manje ati gojo. But the writing is on the wall, my friend. Why can't we do ABC? But we thank God because of the network also that we had now with these health facilities. And there is this fear in men of not being open up when they visit health centers. So we have done quite a lot with families whereby I'm coming in now using my influence and position. Okay, look, I'm not only sending you to the health center, but I am going to be your buddy. We have done it so many times. You walk the men through, walk the family through to the health center. Go through the whole processes. Monitor them as they take their medicines. Disputes are always there, but make sure that you sit down with them and say, guys, look here. This is a closed chapter of how did it happen. We are opening a new chapter that we now have a condition that we are living with in this house. So you should not stress this one. This one should not stress this one. We want to live as a family and we take our medicines. We have seen it happening. We do it. But I tell you, it's not easy. Mostly with guys, we are so much adamant, we are so much ignorant. We don't want to have anything to do with it. Then you ask them, have you stopped anyway having sex? No. Have you stopped anyway to be playboys? No. So now, how do you think, what do you think will be you will be at the end of the day? No. You don't live for somebody. You live for yourself. So it only has to start with you to have a positive mind, accept, agree. 3-4 months down the line, you meet.
Wow, thank you so much, Reverend. So, Reverend, do you feel that there has been any progress in the prevention and treatment of HIV in Zimbabwe?
Indeed. Zimbabwe as a country, we have done well. We have done greatly, massively well in terms of HIV care and treatment. Yes, we have our own problems, we have our own challenges, but really we have managed to achieve the 90-90-90 set out goals by WHO. And yeah, we really, and I think we are still pushing for the 95-95-95. Because this is where we are saying leaving no one behind. And we need to get to that benchmark of saying 90% getting tested, 90% knowing their status, 90% having access to this medication. Yeah, we have really done well as a country. And we thank God also with this 3% AIDS levy. Okay. Yeah, it has taken us somewhere. Okay. And remember, we have become one of the countries that really came out with such an innovation of saying, let 3% be contributed to this. And we have done quite well. Yes, we still have got a gap that at least 80% of all our medication is still being funded from other partners, to which also is not healthy. You see, it's not healthy. But if we can reach a point whereby domestically we can be stable to support these medicines locally, I think that will give us a plus, unlike the current scenario. Yes, we thank God these partners have been faithful to make sure that we don't lose out on HIV, we don't lose out on TB, we don't lose life easily with malaria. You know, they've done quite well. And as far as HIV is concerned, here and there, yes, there has been some gaps, but they'd always stood by us. And that is very impressive. As a country and as a people of about now 1.2, 1.3 million people who are on ARVs right now, yeah, we have done a major, massive. We have seen people's lives being changed by accessing these medicines. We have seen quite a number of improvements. Yeah, despite the challenges of COVID now, that we can also see a scenario of all these gains being reversed. Wouldn't want to see adults also being malnourished. Wouldn't want people now start taking these things because they don't have food, because the food basket is not even there. So that's a gap, honestly. But in terms of uptake of these medicines, we have done exceedingly well. We just need to add this nutrition component, and I think that will really help us to go far.
Everything, wow. Wow, I'm happy to find out, to know that yes, we are doing well as Zimbabwe. It's been lovely. It's been an honor having you, Reverend Kapachawo, on the program.
Thank you.
Do you have any advice regarding HIV and AIDS to families and communities out there?
Indeed, within families, HIV is real. And it is from the family that we make a community. So if this message can be understood within a family setup, there is no need to discriminate one another. There is no need to stigmatize one another just because one is or one is found out to be HIV positive. We are there to help one another. HIV is real, yes. HIV is not the end of life. HIV is not the death sentence. And please, families and communities, my biggest wish is if we can routinely take our HIV test. The earlier that one knows his or her HIV serostatus, the better for the family. That will also be the better for the community. If you are found to be negative today, please let it be a habit that you continue going for this test. Let it not be a one thing off. This is what we assume, most of us, that I tested 2 years ago. But have you stopped to be whatever you had been? No. You see, so let this be a routine thing. Once we are said to be HIV, my brother, my sister, there is life after testing HIV positive. There is no reason whatsoever for someone to kill somebody's daughter with something that is so tiny, something that is manageable, something that when it is managed, death is postponed. Only by adhering and listening and taking your medicines religiously. Those already on medicine, please let us adhere to our medicines. We take them religiously without any doubts. God helping us, we are and we are going to be and we are going to reach wherever God has destined us to be. Because no matter how much we would want to dismiss some of these things, our God is not a God of confusion. The very God who allowed the availability of ARVs. Remember years back, like what we are doing now, we are praying for God to intervene and give us a solution to COVID. So those years back, there were those who came before us who prayed to God to give us a solution to HIV. Now God has allowed these ARVs to come on board. And why do we demonize them? Why are we religious leaders discouraging people from swallowing them? yeti zuro ndizuro tisakanamata kuti Mwari tikundisei. Kundiso youya toti aiwa ukaona uchinwa mishonga iyi kutenda kwako kushoma. Our God is not a God of confusion. The very God who allowed this availability of ARVs is the same God who can heal through miracles. We don't deny that miracles happen. And I wonder sometimes when people say they don't see miracles. But honestly, I am a miracle. And thank God with coming on board on ARVs, I am a miracle. I could have died long back. Tine vanhu vakafa vatinoshuvira nhasi kuti dai vakangomirira rimwe gore vakaonawo mukana nemishonga iyi tingadai tinavo nhasi. So when people say they don't see miracles in HIV, I don't understand what they mean. Because I am a miracle. And that has never made me to stop taking my ARVs. I take them religiously, knowing fully well that the very God who allowed these things to be is the very God who made me to be what I am today. So there is nothing demonic about taking ARVs. Please, 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 Vatican, let's encourage our congregates, let's encourage our families, let's encourage our communities. Once they have started on these medicines, let us not discourage them, but let us support them. Let us be their treatment buddies and making sure that we don't want to create another scenario of defaulters and people ending up demanding very expensive medicines that even our own Ministry of Health can also be a burden. But for now, let us keep on those medicines that we've been prescribed. Mishonga iri kuzobatsira vanoinwa, kwete vanoitora vaiunganidza mawardrobe. You are not cheating anybody. You are just cheating yourself. You are not cheating the health worker. Just by fulfilling a collection, it is only going to help you when you swallow it at the same time every day religiously. Life will continue as life. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. And any advice to religious leaders out there who are living with HIV?
My fellow religious leaders, what we have is a calling, but we are still human beings. We are also still very much prone, we are also very much open to HIV. So please, it's high time now that we need to come out of that Nicodemus way of doing things. Let us speak with one voice. I won't be surprised how you can encourage your congregates to go and test, yet you don't even know your own HIV serostatus. You don't even know what happens at the testing center. Why can't we take the lead? As the shepherds of the old, they never led from the back. Why can't we lead from the front? That our congregates will learn from us. We cannot speak of that which we have not done. We can only be good leaders when we are leading from the front and leading by examples. And also, if I find out that today I am living with HIV, yes, I'm a reverend, yes, I'm a bishop, yes, I'm an imam, yes, I'm whatever the title that I can have. But as long as I am in leadership and people, because of our position, they listen to us, it is my prayer and hope. Let us not hide and discourage people from taking ARVs. HIV is real. I'm urging my fellow religious leaders to know their HIV serostatus. I'm urging my fellow religious leaders, please let us be positive. Let us not discriminate one another on the basis of our HIV serostatus. Chinoenda kudenga mweya wangu, nyama inoenda pasi. Pari nhasi ngatirwirei nyama kuti mweya wane pekugara, tishumire Mwari pasina kusarudzana, pasina kunongedzana, pasina kusekana. Vatungamiriri ndinzwei. 2021, make a decision as a religious leader also to know your HIV serostatus.
Thank you so much, Rev. Thank you so much. That was Reverend Maxwell Kapachawo talking to us about World AIDS Day, giving us advice and telling us some of his experiences living with HIV and AIDS. So our take home today, ladies and gentlemen, is let us go and get tested today. And as long as you are sexually active, you need to go and get tested